In this episode of Poorly Played Poker, brought to you by DFS Army and the Sharp app, your boy Choppadong heads back to the casino for a week worth of poker. We're going to get into some hands. We're going to talk about not when you're playing poorly, but when you're running poorly. How big of folds do you need to make down here at the 1-2 low live stakes? Because believe me, you got to make some big folds. So we're going to dive into the lab here shortly. We'll talk about it, and then we'll bring it back for a weekly wrap, and we'll send this episode out into the abyss and see if people like and subscribe and want to join this journey that we're on this week and going into the future towards building a bigger poker community where we all learn how to play better poker through my poor play. Let's dive into the lab. All right, now that we are in the lab, get rid of the nerd glasses again. We wear those a little bit too much, but when you're old, your eyes go bad. What are you going to do? We're going to talk about a couple of hands where I think a lot of people don't make these laydowns pre-flop like they should. When you're beat, you're beat. At 1-2 and 2-3 type no limit games in these live casinos where you're playing mostly passive opponents, they're not bluffing you as much as you maybe think they are. And if they are, it's not often enough to be balanced to where you should be, calling and defending yourself. You can usually just fold. One of my favorite tips is flow changing aggression is nutted. If I bet and you raise, or if I've been betting and then you raise, that's almost always a strong line. These guys are not doing it just to jerk around with you. Some players are, and those players you'll know when you come across them, but most players aren't. So when you're dealing with older guys that are passing, I mean older than me, I'm like 50, 51 years old, but older than me guys, you're going to be looking at these types of players that don't 3-bet unless it's kings or aces or maybe queens. They just don't do it with ace king. They like to kind of call along, and they kind of like to just kind of take a cheap flop and bang, they hit you with a raise when they hit their gin card. Even if it's invisible to you, it helped them. And it usually beats you unless you're running at the very, very top end of your own range and your own hand strength. So in hand number one, we got about 5 examples for you here. But in hand number one, we raise ace king from an early position to 15. We're kind of not jerk. I think we raised over a limper in this particular spot, so we bumped it up to 15. Get a little bit extra fold equity as well, because ace king is a drawing hand. Am I right? Mid position, 3 bets us to 45. Whoa, okay. Now with ace king, we got some choices. We can really come over the top and we can blast this guy with and try and get some fold equity and get him. But what is he betting? This guy, it was kind of the guy that I was thinking about 4-betting at the time. I was like, I can really get over the top of this guy and really put him to a test. But then the button was an older man, an older, more passive man, and he cold 4-bets. Well, we know that our aces and our kings, are in his hand there. So, your jacks, your tens, your ace, king, ace, queen, those hands are just toast. So what does Hero do? Hero folded ace, king pre-flop. A lot of people in the younger generation would see that hand and go, well, ace, king, it's flipping against queens and jacks. And you're right. But does that old man cold 4-betting ever have queens or jacks? Probably not. He'd probably just call this 3-bet and take a flop, right? So we've got a really, really strong signal that we've got to get away from. We don't like folding ace king. We've waited a while for it. We don't like folding ace king, but sometimes you got to let it go. That's not too terribly hard of a fold. Let's talk about having queens. Let's talk about when we have queens in early position again, and that's another one. When you get all of your premiums and all your good cards in early position, the game gets a little bit harder because you've really got to bludgeon your way out of some spots and they can kind of draw at you. It's a tougher spot. Maybe we'll find some hands like that in the future. But we raise from early position. The hijack was the same guy as here. Boom, 4-bets us to 45 again. And we're like, holy cow, did you really just do that to us again? Dude, chill. Because now I'm tempted to come over you again because I'm sick of your shit, right? Now the button was a different old man and a different passive old man. Bang! Cold 4-bets us again. And now we're ace king, folded queen. Are we really going to do this twice in the same session? Twice in the same hour? Are we really going to raise, get 3-bet, and have to fold to a cold 4-bet because we know the dude who's doing it can't have ace king, can't have ace queen? He's not doing it with jacks. It's kings or aces only. And do we really want to find ourselves in that 80-20 situation? No, we don't. I know we've got a little bit of dead money in both spots with the 3-bet sitting out there, but really, this is just a disaster waiting to happen. These are the types of hands that when you're getting these, and then you have to make that disciplined laydown, which a lot of people at these stakes can't make. This is when you kind of go, maybe I'm not playing poorly. Maybe I'm just running poorly. So let's go to another hand. These next 3 hands happened this week. And we had Queen Jack suited, which is one of my favorite starting hands. We raise it to 15 bucks pre-flop. The small blind calls. We're in a great spot. We are heads up and in position. We can do a lot here. $30 flop, Jack of diamonds, top pair, 4 of spades, 4 of hearts. Paired board. Not the worst, right? Little value bets in order here. Once we get checked to, we bet 15 bucks, a little bit half pot. Generally speaking, they're going to raise off some of their stronger stuff. They're going to call along and kind of tell us how strong they are. They're not really going to slow play too much except for maybe pocket jacks here, in which case we're just kind of screwed. Small blind check raises us, though, to 30. There's your flow changing aggression. It's probably a 4. There's not a flush draw or anything out there. It's probably a 4. Or it's a guy just kind of getting willy-nilly. This guy looks the type to get a little willy-nilly, so we're not quite convinced yet with top pair decent kicker, so we make the call on that $15 extra price. It just is not much of a raise. It's not a very serious raise. The $90 turn is the 6 of spades. Now we got a flush draw up there, but we've really got kind of like nothing. Nothing changed, right? And the flop goes check, check. I mean, I check to him, or he checks to me, and I check it back. I'm like, I'm not messing with this. Right? Let's just see where we go. On the $90 river, 8 of clubs. Okay, well, he checked it to us and we checked it through. Unless he's looking for some kind of double check raise opportunity, we can bet a small bet here. He would have probably followed up with his check raise and led into us on the turn if he really had something strong, right? So we're going to go ahead and put out a little thin value bet here and see what, if he didn't miss or if he wasn't just kind of goofing with us, and see what the $25 earns. It'd get called by pocket 10s, pocket 9s, some things like that. Now, I don't know if those would have check raises, but bang, he check raises us again, all into 250 bucks. I mean, you got to fold at that point. There's just not, it's a weird hand history. There's really not a lot that you can do about that. Again, you just kind of ran into it, right? Flopped a decent hand. It was strong. You played it pretty well, and boom. It's just not much you can do about it. I wonder what he would have done if we'd have bet that turn when he checked to us. But let's look at whiteboard number 2, because like I said in a Twitter video before, not a lot of people have access to 2 prepped up whiteboards for you. But that's where hand histories 4 and 5 are coming from. That's right. That's right. Nails on the wall. Nails on the wall, so we can talk to y'all up here in the best lighting I got in my house right now. So until you bear with me, we build a studio and do all that kind of stuff. This is what we get. So thanks for being real with me and being a down-to-earth, casual kind of guy. Those are my homies. Those are the types of people that I like. You know what? Speaking of like, you might as well drop a like on the video. You might as well comment and subscribe and do all that stuff so you get all of the videos. Turn the little notification bells on. And let's really, really build this channel. Let's get this thing up and off the ground. In this 4th example, Hero raises to 12 bucks. Do you notice a theme? I don't really do a lot of open limping, right? Raises to 12, 5, 6 of spades. And the big blind calls. Once again, we are heads up in position. We are catbird seating this place to death. $24 flop. We flop middle pair, 5 of hearts, 9 of hearts, 3 of spades. Okay? We can do a little bit with that. Probably ahead in this hand. We can clean up some of those. You know, we don't want to go check, check and give like Queen Jack chance to, you know, either hit its 10 or hit its Jack and take out our 5, whatever. We got a little bit to protect. We got a little bit of, you know, equity in this pot, winning chances. So we continuation bet 12, and the big blind check raises us again. So 25 bucks, simple little bitty little min raise kind of thing. So okay, we make the call, whatever. Let's see where we go. We've got a backdoor drawing and some backdoor possibilities. We don't want to give up just yet. $74 turn, Queen of clubs. When he checks to us, bam, insta bet 45. Let's really see what this dude's made of. He did this to us again. He check raises again. Are you just jerking with us or what? That Queen of spades will scare off a lot of these types of cards that just wanted to kind of put us to a test, and we'll keep them a little bit honest. I don't mind turning our hand into a bluff at this point, because that queen, when we are the pre-flop raiser, Really looks like we could have ace, king, king, queen, or ace, queen, king, queen, hands like that, even pocket queens, whatever. Boom, $45 bet. It doesn't take much. You don't have to go 100 or 125. He'll either call or fold out a lot of his stuff. And if he just calls, he's not trapping us anymore. But instead, he check raises us again. $210 more. I mean, I'm not making that call. I've got to go. We took our shot. It failed. We move on. We're not running well. We're poorly running poker instead of poorly played poker. I don't mind the thought process behind any of this. Next hand, well, 2 hands later, different villain, right? This guy's a little bit crazier, a little bit more action driven as well. He's getting on a little shorter stack. He's kind of getting a little bit upset at his luck and whatever else. We raise ace jack offsuit to 12. 12 to 15 is our standard raise at these tables. Under the gun calls, under the gun +1 calls, and we're like, woo, 3 ways. All right, whatever. $36 flop. And I don't personally do this a ton where I'm just kind of throwing air in there. But when it checks to me, I'm going to bet 15 bucks, right? Just see where we're at. It's not really a see where we're at. I've got equity to protect. I've got the over pairs in my range. I've got reasons to be making this bet. I'm also wanting to see if I can get this pot heads up, and then maybe if I can get a turn bet out of the guy or a turn card out of the guy, and see if I can't kind of cap their ranges on mediocre stuff to where if I need to, I can turn this hand into a bluff with some initiative, right? That's the other reason we're doing this. We're not really doing it to see where we're at. I hate that phrase. I do use it, but I hate that phrase. So when one player folds and the other player calls, okay, he just called. He didn't do anything freaky deaky on this flop. On the $66 turn pot, we've got a 10 of spades. That completes the spade draw. Now he could have that flush. Now, how are we going to figure it out? Well, when he checks to us, a lot of times players will just lead out. They'll certainly do that on the river. They'll lead out. But in this case, he checks to us. We're going to bet small again, half pot, 30 bucks. Because again, we're going to put him to the test. If he just calls this bet, we know we can blast him on the river. And we can get him off of the vast majority of his stuff because he doesn't have a flush. Most players will check raise this flush and tell us exactly where they are at in this spot. And that's exactly what he did. Boom, comes right over the top for 190 to 200 bucks. And now ace high, we're toast. So we have to fold again. So that's 5 hands. Those hands, if they go a little bit differently, we're running really, really well. But we're losing the minimums in some of these hands. You could argue maybe you can check some of these spots, but I'd like to kind of keep the pressure on and keep people guessing at whether I'm doing it for real or whether I'm not. I can fold. They see me fold a lot post-flop. So when I do end up having a really, really strong hand and I play them the same way and I call is all in or I call, boom, I've got you trapped because you've got me when I'm nutted. So that's where you're going to pay attention to the way these guys play. They're going to pay a little bit of attention to the way that you play. And honestly, when you're in these spots, you need to keep kind of playing the same way, kind of keep doing the same thing. You can't just all of a sudden get trappy when you've got the nuts. They'll see that. You can't just go over betting and going crazy when you've got bluffs. You need to have a reason for what you're doing. And there are plenty of Google lessons and things out there that can give you some tactical and strategic advice to put these tactical plans together and get better. In the meantime, what we need to realize is flow changing aggression usually means business. It's not a bluff. And if it is a bluff, and if they show you the bluff, generally speaking, they're still not doing it often enough that you can't just kind of exploitatively fold to them every time and wait until you got a little bit better opportunity yourself. And that's how you avoid playing poker poorly, even though you might be running a little bit poorly. Once again, thanks for tuning into an episode of Poorly Played Poker. I'm your boy Choppadong, and we're brought to you by DFS Army and the Sharp app. Links will be below. We have our own free Discord that I'd love to see you in and love to see you chatting more poker histories and hands. That's where you can submit your hands. And if you want to collaborate and share your videos and help me help you promote this community together, my only requirement is that you be a member of that Discord community. So if you're in there, stop in, say hi. I'll probably say hi back. I'll also comment back to these videos. So let's wrap up this episode of Poorly Played Poker. We'll ship it out to the world, and we'll see you on the other side. Certainly can't complain about the week. If we recap it, we were break even going into Friday. We had, I think we were up 150 on Tuesday, down 50 on Wednesday, down 50 or down 100, I think, on Thursday. And then today,
up about 400. So it's about the hours. It's about the grind. It's about just playing solid poker whenever you can, get in the right spots, get on good tables, and hopefully run well. Today we ran really, really, really well. We've been negative this year, below expectation for pocket pairs and flopping sets and just general run good. And today we flopped 4 sets. It's really, really hard to lose in a scenario like that. Um, and thank goodness we did. But we've made some really, really good folds throughout the week, as you saw in previous episodes of Poorly Played Poker. So um, we didn't play too poorly this week. We were able to stay the course, stay disciplined, stay on track, and book a nice win. So we'll see you all next week. Hopefully, we have a good Super Bowl week. It's probably done by now by the time this video gets out. But may your team win and may your bets cash. And we will talk to you on the other side. See you.